Today we're doing something a little bit different, Dad. We are reacting to other people's rebuilds.
Be interesting.
Yeah, so I'd like to think we were the first people to do it on Football Manager in this format. I know other people call their series a rebuild, but this format, which, you know, it's been done on other games, I think we were the first people to do it.
Of course we was.
So, yeah.
Of course we was.
And I like to think now that, you know, we know our way around a rebuild. We know when a rebuild is successful or not on this format of Football Manager. So that's what we're going to do. We've got 3 creators today, 3 different creators that you might have actually seen doing rebuilds before. Maybe you've watched them on the regular or seen a couple of their videos, and at different sizes as well of channel size. So yeah, this is going to be fun. First off, we're going to start off with the most suggested person to watch when I tweet it out, and that is Hood Gaming.
Right.
So we're going to start off with Steve's rebuild. He is rebuilding Preston North End in the Championship.
Ooh, we've had a few people ask us to do that one, haven't they?
Exactly why I thought it would be a good one to see how he does. Because if we do it in the future, then we can always reference how Steve done compared to how we do. Now, if you do enjoy this type of reaction content, let us know, because we will be doing more, especially because we're going to bring back the Alpha and Omega channel. So I'll bring it up right now. This is the second channel that me and Dad started last year, where we talked a lot about football. I don't really have a lot of time to do all of that stuff and edit now, but if I can find an editing, you guys find it worthwhile, we're gonna do more reaction stuff on there, aren't we? We're gonna look into football. Maybe we'll look at wrestling or different sports around the world. Maybe there's a YouTube compilation that you've seen that you'd like to see mine and Dad's reactions for. I think it's gonna be quite fun. So if that's something you'd be interested in, then the second channel is there for you. I'll leave a link in the description. Right, okay, so let's start off then. Steve's rebuild of Preston North End. We're at season number 1.
Okay.
Goal actually in a rebuild isn't as big as some of the challenges I have taken on in FM23 this year, but the Premier League is very difficult, and I think getting out of the Championship is probably going to be my hardest task.
We always say that, don't we?
Yeah, it is an hard league to get out of.
And I genuinely think Championship rebuilds are my least favourite because I suck at them. I do.
You need to pick one of the, I think if you pick one of the teams that's come down from the Premier League, you've got a good chance, because sometimes they've still got majority of the players that played in the Premier League.
Yes,
so
that's it. They basically got a Premier League team.
I mean, we always call them the yo-yo teams, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got a few of them, but Preston,
they've been there for a long time.
They haven't they?
We'll be going 4-4-2. This is GYR's Dyche domination. In Season 1, we do have this man on loan, Troy Parrott on loan.
Right. I want to bring this up straight away.
All right.
Steve, you're using downloaded tactics now. Now, Steve obviously has, a lot of you will know GYFM works quite closely with Steve. They do a lot of videos together, basically looking at different tactics and testing them. So I guess Steve uses that in his rebuilds to then obviously that's what he does. But I don't. I try and use as many of my own tactics.
You've used some funny tactics I don't agree with, do I?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a failure. Sometimes it works quite well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a different take on it, isn't it?
I think the difference is he's doing these tactics that he downloads in it, but the tactics that you play with is the tactics that you look at your team, your best players, and what you can come up with.
Yeah.
So if you've got a really good attacking players, that's your strength. You'll come up with a tactic with that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's the good thing about it, really. That's why I think sometimes I look at you and go, "Oh, I don't know about that," but it pays off because that's where your team is best.
Yeah. And I think the other side of that, from Steve's point of view, maybe he would then buy players to fit the tactic instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
From Spurs. In terms of Season 1, I'm not really sure what to expect. The board would like me to record a top half finish, so inside the top 12. So let's simulate and see what we can do in Season number 1. Let's dive in. Season number 1 with Preston North End.
Promotion for Steve.
Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Second place in behind Norwich. That's not too bad. I mean, 98 points for Norwich is going to be that's going to be very difficult to catch.
There's one of your yo-yo teams, isn't it?
That is one of the yo-yo teams. The other one is obviously West Brom, who's in the playoffs there. Now, we can't see whether they go up because this is he's come back on the 7th of May, but promotion for Preston, also on the same points as Stoke. So he's done it on goal difference. We're not expecting Steve to go win any cups. We can't slap on the wrist and go, can't believe you didn't make the final of the FA Cup, Steve, with this Preston North End team. So good start.
We've got ourselves promoted. Oh yeah, we have. We're not champions though. Norwich absolutely blasted the league. They got 98 points. We finish in second, joint second. Well, we finish in second. We beat Stoke out on goal difference, having both shared 84 points. Troy Parrott did okay for us. 22 goals and 7 assists for the Irish international.
On loan from
Obviously, the
Spurs.
man on loan from Spurs.
Say
He'll
no
be
more.
going back to Tottenham. Speaking of season
He's got to go back
two,
to
we
Tottenham,
do have
unfortunately,
a
for him.
relatively sizable
Second
budget.
season,
Obviously,
he's got a
moving up into
big
the Premier
budget
League
there to go
has
into the
its
Premier League.
financial
Yeah.
rewards and a decent amount of money to be
Okay, so this is
honest. I brought
second
in,
season
what I
transfers.
would say are some good players.
So-
I've spent 20.
If we take a look at it, because we're not going to listen to obviously Steve explain it, I am quite surprised by this, although I can see why he's done a lot of it. So the two players that we've got here in Leandro Capagna and Chalobah as free transfers, they can be really good Premier League players.
Yep.
And to get them on free transfers is good. But to have that budget and spend it, the majority of it, on one player is what I'm surprised with.
He's a good young up-and-coming defender as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to you when Spurs got rid of him, I didn't understand why. I knew we had a few right backs at the time, but he was a good young player, you know, and it's proved that for what he's doing at Southampton at the moment. So, but yeah, he's a lot of money in one player.
Yeah. Matoma, that guy at the top there, Steve does mention in this rebuild, you won't see it in here, but how Football Manager have rated him quite low, and I agree with Steve, to be fair. Like, we've seen since Matoma started playing for Brighton, beginning the start of January, he's been class. I mean, he scored that goal against Liverpool, really good. Yeah, I agree with Steve. And to get him for 1.3 million, that's a good price.
£23 million, but shifted a lot of the money into the wage budget to get it as high as humanly possible to bring in as many good, talented players as possible. This is a squad. I think we're in good shape moving into season number 2.
Sticking with
However,
the 4-4-2.
If we look at the Premier League, we are expected to fight bravely against relegation, and the season preview has us at 700 to 1 to win the division. I never care about the odds. I just care about where they place us,
That's
and we
it.
are predicted to come stone dead last.
Yeah, so Steve's exactly right. Like, the odds, we don't really care about the odds, but if they're placing you last, what that's basically telling you, really, behind the scenes, is Football Manager knows you've got the lowest current ability in all your players out of the league. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to perform the worst, because obviously, just because a player has a lower current ability doesn't mean that they can actually outperform a guy with a higher current ability, because it depends where those attributes are and in the style of play that they're playing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Steve's obviously got a good tactic with that 4-4-2 from GYRFM. That can obviously make a terrible player look like an average player, and an average player look like a class player.
Yeah, not many Premiership teams play with a 4-4-2 now, do they? So
No, not these days.
It's dodgy now, I think.
It works well in Football Manager, though.
Yeah.
I've used quite a few this year. I'll tell you what works even better is when you put the two centre midfielders a little bit further back in that DM role. I've done it a couple of times already. It works so well.
Yeah, but that's you fiddling around with it, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, it doesn't look like he's going to do that, does it? It looks like he's just sticking to the 4-4-2.
Yeah,
So-
and testing GYRFM's tactics.
So season number 2 is done and dusted, and our first season back in the Premier League has ended with survival, just about. If we look at the table on the competitions tab, you can just about see us with
16th place.
And Norwich stayed up with him.
And Norwich stayed up. And Bournemouth, who also clearly obviously went. Oh no, Bournemouth was there
Stoke
before.
came up
So
was the other team that came
Stoke
up.
was the
So
other
it
one
looks
that's
like they've
come up.
been
It looks like
relegated.
they've gone down.
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
Yes.
16th place.
The first season is all about survival.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tip me out off to him. Well done.
Leandro Campagna there with 19 league goals. That's the free transfer that he's made. Scoring 19 Premier League goals.
That's good.
Yeah, that's what's kept him up, isn't it?
Any player that in the Premier League gets near to 20, that's good, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with the lower teams.
The only downside to this, I would say, is the 4th round of the EFL Cup being knocked out by Peterborough.
Yeah.
Who highest we know would be Championship.
Thing is, with the Carabao Cup, though, I always find that your Premiership teams always play their second.
Yeah.
Because they're staying in that league is the most important thing. So
Yeah.
you play your fringe players to try and get them gameplay, and anybody who's coming back from injury, you stick them in as well, don't you?
Yeah, I agree.
So that to me is not a surprise, really.
So, season number 3, Steve then goes and spends £33 million.
Right.
So quite a lot of money spent on various different players, keeping with the same tactic. So let's see how he does.
So season 3 is in the books, and we have improved-ish. We finished in 15th in the Premier League table, which I'm actually really happy
One
with.
position
Again,
higher
it's
than the
Premier
season
League
before.
survival. We halved our goal difference. It's still negative, though. Last season, it was minus 33. This year, it's minus 16. We finish on 42 points. We survive again.
This is big
in
problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
league
his
and
biggest
goals.
problem. League and goals, yeah.
But I do know from experience, when you come up from the Championship into the Premier League, I would say the hardest position to try and find your first teamer is centre-back.
Yeah.
You can easily find a striker who's going to score goals because, I mean, he's done it for free. I mean, this guy again here, 23 goals he scored for him this season, Leandro Campagna. It's so difficult to find decent centre-backs.
This is where you got to have a good scouting thing, though, isn't it? You know, you got to be finding. I mean, you buy players from all different parts of the world, don't you? Really,
Yeah.
and some of the players we've never even heard of. But you'll bring it up and just say, look, I think he'll be a good player, and within about 2 seasons, bang, he's there. He's doing the business, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe this is what he's got to be looking at as well, a better scouting side of it.
Yeah.
You've got to be finding these defenders. You can't afford to leak goals like that then.
Nope. So we're keeping that on tab, Steve. Do you manage to improve the goal difference? We'll find out.
Yeah.
This time Liverpool win the league. However, if you look at our form towards the end of the season, let me expand the schedule for you. We lost our last 4 games in a row.
We're lucky to stay up.
After beating Liverpool. See, this is what I don't understand. We beat Liverpool 5-0 at Anfield, and then we just get pumped. Like,
What, Liverpool won the league, and he beat 5-0 at Anfield?
5-0 at Anfield.
Good God.
And then lose the next 4.
I mean, like we just said there, you were lucky to stay up, but beating Liverpool at Anfield, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
brilliant.
highlight of the year, isn't it? Highlight of the season.
The fans would have loved that, because your fans being a second season in the Premiership, you're going to go to these grounds, and you wants to go down for everybody wants to go there, doesn't it? It's not that far away from Preston, I don't think, neither.
No.
So they would have all gone, they would have filled the away end of it, and to come away 5-0, wow,
Yeah.
that's Real Madrid all over again.
Oh yeah. Hilarious.
we lost 6-1 to Arsenal. We lost 7-3 to Man City at the Etihad. This tactic is wildly inconsistent when I don't necessarily have the players for it.
I think slightly different. I think this tactic does not suit when you play that possession style of team.
Definitely not.
Because Liverpool, you battered them 5-0 away at Anfield. Liverpool under Klopp, if Klopp's still there, will play gegenpress.
Yeah.
That's typically what Football Manager will do. Man City and Arsenal have Guardiola and Arteta, who really play like tiki-taka and keep the ball, keep the possession. And by the looks of it, both games played you off the park.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the case against the more tiki-taka teams, but against the gegenpress, because Liverpool, I mean, they do have a lot of possession, but they score their goals when they just catch you on the counter-attack, or they've caught you high at the pitch, don't they? They rely on you to have the ball for when they score a lot of their goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously backfired for them when you
It's a bit
played
like
against
Spurs
them.
are playing at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
Any team that attacks Spurs, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
Any team that sits back against Spurs, we will beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
Man City was a prime example. We beat them 1-0 the other day.
Yeah, so I think that might be the way where the tactic has
you could be right
gone
there,
wrong or gone right.
I think we definitely do not have the players for this 4-4-2 just yet.
Or he's right, he didn't have the players for it.
Yeah.
That obviously is a situation or a scenario that obviously we mentioned. If you don't have the players for it, maybe moving or changing the tactic around might have benefited from that, but he still survived. Now, season number 4, Steve goes on and spends £16 million, so pretty much half of what he spent the season before, but some good free transfers.
Right, that's
to
what you've got to be
break in.
looking at.
Yeah.
Or even a loan player, a couple of loan players as well to come in. You've got to make your squad bigger.
Yeah, we'll see how Steve does, but that's roughly what he spends. About £16 million, but some great free transfers.
In terms of the competitions and stuff, though, this is how we're looking. Obviously, Carabao Cup, Emirates FA Cup, Board expectation, fight bravely against relegation every single season so far. If we go on the season preview, though, we are still 700 to 1, but this time we've climbed a position. We're predicted to finish in 18th. So the media prediction is still having us to get relegated. Not really sure how things are going to go, but we try. If we quick pick without restriction our best 11, show you what the team's looking like right now.
So this is roughly the team that he has been signing the last couple of years. So we've got the likes of Sven Botman from Newcastle. Kiwa is the guy that Arsenal, I think, has just signed. I think it's Arsenal. Yeah. He can play centre-back or left-back, so he's quite good. Balogun up top. Have you been noticing anything about Balogun, Dad, or recognise Balogun? He come through the Arsenal Youth Academy, but he's out on loan, and there's quite a nice little story that's going on right now in France.
No.
Will Still, have you seen the news about Will Still, the manager of Reims in France?
No, I haven't, no.
So he started off a Football Manager fanatic. Love Football Manager, just like myself, playing it, because I think he's roughly the same age as me. And that's what took him into management,
Right.
or coaching. He managed to get a job in France for Reims as like a coach.
Yeah.
And then they sacked their manager at the start of the season. Somehow Will got the job as caretaker over. And I don't know whether he actually has now, but he went like 16 games unbeaten, including a game against PSG recently where
well done.
I think it might have been Balogun, it might have been somebody else, but Balogun has been on fire underneath Will.
He?
Yeah. But he's doing it the right way. He's learned fluent French.
Yeah.
So he can speak to his players. But it's really funny. He's everywhere right now because the media's loving him because he's quite a character as well. But he brought Balogun over on loan from Arsenal. And he would talk to him in French and then call him an idiot in English. And I just think it's brilliant. So that's the story of Balogun. So that's a good sign-in to obviously be a supporting player for Campagna, who we've seen already for Steve is scoring a lot of goals.
So is he using wide wing backs and bringing him into the number 10 role or what?
Yeah, so we can see from this tactic, the pressing forward on support will be likely to drop back into the number 10 role when you've got the ball,
right?
To try and seek the ball out. But as a pressing forward, it's going to be kind of hounding defenders when they get the ball.
Yeah.
But the wingers are on attack, so they've got a license to bomb forward, and the fullbacks are more on support there. So it's not too difficult instructions for the back four. To be honest, all the centre midfielders is quite like a play to their best attributes.
Yeah.
Type of tactic, really.
I mean, I'd be thinking about playing possibly 5 in midfield with one of your central ones being an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
But just trying to sew up that midfield a bit better so you're not conceding so many goals.
Yeah, because that minus 16 is still a lot.
Yeah.
Right, we'll see.
We've still got Woodman in goal, Walker Peters, Reece Oxford, Sven Botman, Kiwa, Ogbeni, Jorgensen, Da Silva, Zinjas, Balogun, and then Campana. But we have a little bit more depth now. Connor Roberts, Matoma, Beljo.
So that's
Laurel,
what he's
Shalaba.
worked on the last
These
couple
are
of seasons.
Premier League players. Obviously, we've got
Bringing
Tommy
in a lot
Doyle,
more
who
squad
have not
depth.
registered. These are all good players, guys. So I think our squad depth is just that a little bit better than we've had in previous seasons. Let's simulate season 4 and see what happens this time around. Okay, so we got our top 10 finish in season number 4. Yes, okay, we did finish in 10th, but I will take it. It is a huge, huge improvement.
10th's not bad at all.
Goal difference
No,
almost again.
definitely.
We are at -9, so we're still
You
in
gotta
the
take that.
minus,
I
but
mean,
we
Preston
are
will
at
be very happy with that.
-9. 54 points this season. It was our highest points return in the year so far, but it felt like we either won games or we lost games. We got 17 victories. Just the 3 draws in 18.
I was just about to say, that must be the least amount of draws in the league. And then I looked at Man United. 1 draw.
1 draw, yeah.
And they've won a lot more, but still, 1 draw. That's fascinating.
I've got lots of money. Our wage budget is now £1.7 million, and I've got just shy of 50 million quid.
£50 million for season number 5.
It's got to be clever now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm actually surprised at some of the players I've been able to sign. Now, it says...
Okay, so we're not going to let him go into too much detail, but looking at the signings, this is where I think I come in to the point. You're quite good with the tactics side of it and the results side of it, whereas I know the players that he's brought in. I think this is his best transfer window. I genuinely do. We've got the likes of Matisse Tell, which for £2.6 million as a wonder kid is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Abel Ruiz is one of those players which either flops or absolutely becomes a star. He's bought him from Man United, so obviously Man United's bought him and he's flopped there. It could be a good little pickup there. Capriel is the goalkeeper. That's a lot for a goalkeeper, but he's one of the best young goalkeepers on the game.
Right.
So I actually think this is probably his best transfer window that he's done.
He spent 62 million on 2 players in, really, didn't he?
Yeah. Because I think obviously from Zendanya, that's the season before, because he's brought them in right at the start of.
So the Man United player, what
Council
position is he
5.
playing?
He is a striker, or he plays on the wings. Predominantly, though, I'd say he's probably a striker.
Right.
He came through the Barcelona Youth Academy.
So I've spent 101 million, but some of this was last season, and this is the team going into our 5th and final season. I'm really happy with this defense now. I think we are ready to take a big step up. Elia Caprelli is in goal. Walker Peters, Lamb.
His team then, basically, I think it's definitely an improvement from last year. It's weird having, obviously, his companion, the guy who was scoring a lot of goals, being replaced, but I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Our top goal scorer, I think, nah, the guy that I'm bringing in is better.
Yeah.
So if he feels like Tell and Ruiz is going to be a better option for him, then I back that as well.
The only thing I would have been looking at there would have been bringing in a top quality central midfield player.
I was thinking, that's exactly what I was going to say.
He's used the same midfield, central midfield players,
too.
hasn't he?
Yeah.
And that to me is the most important position in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah. Are we seeing the difference that Casemiro makes to Man United when he's not there?
There you go, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm exactly the same for you. Ronigan, Jorgensen and De Silva's 2 very good players, but are they as quality as some of the centre midfielders in the Premier League?
No.
Probably not.
No.
The board are expecting to avoid relegation this year. Obviously, they are starting to pump a lot more cash into us. If we go into the season preview, we are now predicted to finish in 17th.
Another position
Yes,
up.
we're climbing, boys. We are climbing. So, 5th and final season in this Preston North End rebuild is in the books. This has been our best season so far.
A lot
Obviously,
better.
the investment
Well
has
done.
really, really helped.
A lot
Obviously,
better.
finding
Goal
the
difference as
players
well is positive.
has always helped. helped. We finished
And the
in
semi-final
seventh.
of the
Say
FA
they got the
Cup.
semi-cup. I mean, losing to Man United in a semi-final, that's unlucky. It's all in the game, isn't it?
Especially when they're finishing in third place,
only
only 4 points behind the title holders,
I've not
Liverpool.
done a year in the Premier League for a long time in one of these rebuilds. But the top 5 now all qualify for the Champions League, it would appear.
And Abel Ruiz has scored more than what Campagna did.
Oh, just looking at that, yeah, 26 goals. That's
Yeah.
good. So that was a good buy.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, how would you rate the rebuild of Preston North End by Steve there? Hood
I think he's
Gaming.
done very well.
Yeah, I agree.
Done a lot better than I thought he was going to. Didn't strengthen the team where I think it needed it, but he got away with it.
Yeah.
What he did do. Eventually, he brought in a few good players that he really needed, and that showed in the result.
Yeah.
You know, he's. I think he did really well.
Yeah, I think so too. The final outcome, putting them in Europe, that's not bad at all. It's a shame you can't see what they do in Europe.
Yeah, that's right.
I always think that when we do that and we
Yeah.
end on like the first qualification of Europe, I always think, because then usually you get the better budget, which
Yeah.
always seems to happen for me in
Yeah.
season number 6. Probably happened for Steve as well. But yeah, I think overall, getting Preston from, they haven't been in the top division for so long.
No.
Getting that team, obviously with the history that they have, back into the Premier League to begin with is obviously going to be tricky, but getting that Europa League and sorting that out, yeah.
Well, fans are looking
stuff.
for it. Fans
Yeah.
are looking for that. Getting him into Europe. They're a hell of a team. They got, like you said, they got a big history. They're one of the
first ever.
teams.
Yeah. The first ever Invincibles. I
Yeah.
think Steve mentions that in the video. Right, now, the next one that we have is Kempy 11. Let's take a look at Kempy's rebuild as he does Hertha Berlin.
Who doesn't love a rebuild, especially of a money-bagged team?
First off, fantastic shirts.
I'm just thinking that's a good background, isn't it?
Yeah, that Man United red kit with the emblem around, I think, was because of the treble.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that shirt. I remember me and my best friend next door had that exact same shirt, and obviously he's got the signed Ronaldo. I think that's the blue one from his first spell. It's hard to tell whether it's lying, but I think that's it. But yeah, good start. So, a little bit about Kempy's rebuilds. He doesn't like to do transfers in the first season, so he turns that off and see what he can do with that team. So it's another little twist on the rebuild.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I know we used to do something similar where we'd simulate the first season,
Yeah.
then do the team. He does very similar, but obviously doesn't make signings in that one. He just goes and picks his tactic and simulates that first season. Because obviously, really, when this game comes out, that summer transfer window in real life is done.
Yeah, that's right.
So that is the team that they are started with in the season. So
Yeah.
really, that's what would happen. There is an option, obviously, to select to do that.
It's an interesting tactic you got there, or formation you got there as well.
Yeah.
Also testing
That's quite
the
like
tactic, GYR's black pamphlet. There was a
GYRFM's
Tuesday and Monday
tactics
video.
again.
Oh, is it?
Oh, Kempy. We're using downloaded tactic. It's the same guy who created the tactic for Steve. He's testing that as well. But he also does tactic tests on his channel.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might have seen some of them that he does. And this is one that he
So
tested that week.
That might have been a better tactic for Steve, I think.
Yeah, especially in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It got him, obviously, that first one got him up.
You got that midfielder. You just you crowded that midfielder a little bit better,
Yeah.
and it might have just saved him a little bit more, I think. There.
Yeah, I agree. If you can hear screaming, by the way, that's my child downstairs trying to have his tea. Right, let's carry on.
Tactic tester on this bad boy, but today we're going to give it the real test of 5 years. We should be scoring lots of goals. But if you guys don't know how things are going in real life for Hertha Berlin, as an update, they're 17th in the league. Out of 18 in Bundesliga, obviously, 14 points from 18 games.
Yeah,
Not
they're
going
struggling.
well for them, so I can
He
anticipate
could,
it's
he could
gonna
get
be
relegated
rather
before he even
hard.
starts, really. Couldn't he?
Rebuild.
No, this is
Start
not
things
how
off
he's doing.
in
This is how they
season
did in
one.
real life.
We got knocked
Oh,
down
right.
in the second round of the
But this is
podcast,
how he's actually
and have ended
done.
up coming
So 12th
12th,
place.
So by no means a good
45
season
points.
whatsoever. A a lower half table in the Bundesliga. You can see we started very well, to be honest, but drifted away, and towards the end of the season, it all got a bit too much, and we dropped right down into 12th.
What do you think of that? Like 12th place? Hertha's team is one of those where they used to have a very good team and a lot of their players got taken away or never really lived up to their potential.
Yeah.
And they do have a lot of money, but I don't think they spent wisely.
We've spoken about the German league before, and you got the two top teams there. Any good players in any other team, the two top
Get
teams,
poached.
they buy them, don't they?
Yeah.
And that's why it stays as the two top teams. Dortmund in
Bayern, yeah.
Munich,
Tends to normally be Bayern as well.
So I do feel sorry for any team in that league. And every so often you got the one that comes through, and they're a little bit better than the others, and they're pressing for the top 3 or 4, but it still ends up as Bayern winning the league. Doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
£56 million spent in some fantastic free transfers as well.
I mean, some of the names there.
Yeah.
Jefferson Lerma, good free transfer to begin with, but look at
Definitely.
the name underneath that. Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Hey,
On a free.
don't we love him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my viewers clearly don't, because I did a video based around him last week, and none of you bastards watched it.
Everybody loves Zlatan, and he loves himself.
Yeah, exactly. So the other one there that's quite interesting is Mesut Ozil.
Yes.
At the end of his career, now he's gone right downhill on Football Manager, but he is
You can
here.
understand why, though, can you? He didn't make a good name of himself at Arsenal, did he? He didn't do
No.
himself no favours whatsoever. After arriving there as a good player, didn't he get dropped out of the World Cup team as well?
Yeah, he didn't go to that.
So,
no.
didn't do himself no favours whatsoever. did
No.
A few names. Jefferson Lerma in free from Bournemouth. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, yes, the cover star of the rebuild. Zlatan is here at Hertha
Natural
Berlin
fitness,
for a
20.
season. The
Mental, innit?
41-year-old, 6'5"
Looks after
demon
himself at
is here for a
41.
season to try and bring
Still
Hertha
amazing.
Berlin some absolute glory. He looks fantastic still, and I'm sure he's going to do.
Do you know he holds the record? You normally do the facts. My turn. He holds the record for the most Champions League appearances by a player who hasn't lifted the trophy.
Such a shame, innit?
Yeah.
Such a shame. 'cause
That's why you should go and watch the video I made where I made him lift the trophy, and the video didn't end until I did it. I'll put it at the end of this video. But I even used Dad's tactic at one point.
Did you?
Yeah, and it got you quite far.
We look at the squad then, we look at the tactics, and I'll show you guys the tactic now. It's a 4-3-3.
So the only thing I disagree with his tactic, he had Zlatan as a pressing forward. Now that's where sticking by testing the tactic doesn't work in my opinion.
No.
Because I would be like, well, I can't ask a 41-year-old
No.
to be a pressing forward on attack. It
Well,
would be a target
You
forward.
look at Ronaldo when he was playing his last season
At United.
Season at United. They played him right up front, and he stayed up there, and he hardly did any running around at all, but he was still lethal.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was why, because he didn't have to do the running around.
Yeah.
You know, take him back 10 seasons, yeah, he could do all the running around then, same as Zlatan could.
Yeah.
You don't need him to be doing that. Just do what is he good at? Putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah. So
let him do
that's
it.
where I disagree with the keeping with the same tactic. But of course, if you're testing it for your rebuild, you're testing it. I'm going to do a bit of a roundup of a couple of seasons that he has done. Season 2, he finished in 4th place.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
We were just talking about the top 2 teams, so
Yeah.
he's there or thereabouts, isn't he?
That gives him, of course, Champions League football. So maybe we need to shut up because
Yeah.
Zlatan in the pressing forward got him 4th place.
Yeah.
In season number 3, with Champions League football, he dropped down into 6th place and was knocked out of the round of 16 by Napoli in the Champions League.
I still think that's a good season.
I do as well.
You know, if you're in the Champions League first time with the squad that he's got, you've got to expect to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
Napoli, good side.
Hell of a good team. Hell of a good team. Season number 4, 5th place, and then Europa League, because that's obviously where we finished in 6th place. He got to the quarterfinals to be knocked out by Dortmund.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
He's done well then because he's improved the squad and he's kept them in the top 6.
Yeah.
So
Giving them European football, which what the fans obviously would want.
so that must be giving him a good transfer budget again each season as well because he's staying in the European competition. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I always say it in all our videos, don't I?
Hate being knocked out by a team in your nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's reconvene with Kempe in season number 5.
Bring you guys back at the start of season 5, and I'll update you on season 4 as well. But the signings we made for season 4, Destiny Odegogi, a very good young Italian left back,
Yeah.
was on a
So
free
he's
contract.
This is what I like. His signings now are smart because they're not. A couple of them are going to be improving the first 11, but when he goes through and shows a lot of them, you'll see there's so many squad players there.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously you get yourself into Europe, then you buy the better players, then you go right now I need to pack out the squad.
Yeah, definitely.
Because obviously you're playing so many games of football.
Yeah.
So if you look down his list here, that Andre Sheldrup with a £44 million, that's your talisman signing of the season, and he's going to be really good.
Yeah, it's a
and he's
good
securing up the defence with the Bast, who's a very good centre back from Anderlecht there. That's his £25 million signing. So although he spent £108 million,
They're good
really,
signings.
yeah, it's only
Really good
2
signings.
big signings,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are for the future as well. There's a couple of new gens in there, and there's a couple of really good like wonder kid types of
So
players.
the teams that he's signing the players from as well, they've got good experience in these teams. You know,
Yeah.
Barcelona, you're not no mug to coming from Barcelona.
No,
Right,
no.
You might not make it to the first team, but you're still no mug for being there.
No, absolutely.
Start of season number 5. Let's get into it and we'll see if we can make some big moves. And here we are then, the end of season number 5. Hertha Berlin, at first glance, aren't doing very well. But second glance, you see we've got a
Maybe your
Champions League
Frankfurt,
spot.
Yeah.
Not many goals coming out of this team.
Not bad at all. So let's go back to that because I actually think, Frankfurt finishing second, that's amazing for me. He's finishing 5th place there, just 2 points behind Schalke, but the semi-final of the Europa League is going to play an effect into that.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going very late into the competition that obviously, as a Hertha Berlin fan, you're going to be wanting to win. It's not one of those, like, if Bayern was in Europa League, they'd be like,
you're only going to look at the points between him and Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
There's a lot of points, so you're never going to win the league.
No.
So you take, what have I got left? I could win the Europa League here.
Yeah.
And you put everything into it, don't you?
And you think the risk it obviously is, it will sacrifice you getting Champions League football next year, which obviously it hasn't, because although he's finished in 5th, there's Champions League football for 5th place now because of the qualification. But ideally you want to be in that top 4 where it's, I think you might have to qualify. I'm not quite sure. But you think, I'm going for that trophy. And you come up against Arsenal, it's unlucky.
Yeah, it is really, yeah.
So overall, great rebuild.
I think he's done really, really well.
Yeah.
He's kept them in the top 6. That first season, he got through it, brought in good players, and got what he deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame he couldn't get himself a DFB Pokal, of course, my favourite trophy.
Yeah. I mean, with each person we've had so far, they haven't won nothing.
No, that's true.
But they've done well with the teams they've had.
Yeah.
They haven't won nothing.
Hertha Berlin, at first glance, aren't doing very well. But second glance, you see we've got a Champions League spot. Not many goals coming out of this team, actually. Nelson Viper getting 21 and 33 games. Struggled a little bit
and
with
I think
injury.
that was his problem.
18 goals.
The goals.
Yeah.
When we stop it there, 21 goals from your main striker.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot, really, is it? I mean, the backups as well, only getting 18 and 14 from your 2 wingers. And he brought in Richarlison from Tottenham halfway through the season.
I would be
a
little bit disappointed.
Only got 7 goals from 18 starts and 4 appearances.
You've got to be looking at your main striker's got to be in the top 20s.
Yeah.
And your second striker is exactly where he is nearly
high
20s.
teens, 20s. Yeah. So I asked a question then, and I think I already know the answer to this. Do you think that using these downloadable tactics is actually a hindrance in these rebuilds if they're kind of like, oh, that's the tactic I'm going to be using for the 5 years, that's it?
Yes. I think sometimes you've got to change your tactics with the players that you bring in.
Yeah.
You could be bringing in good central midfield players. One's a defending midfielder and one's an attacking midfielder. You've got to cater for that.
Yeah,
They could be your best 2 players in your squad. You've got to be catering for that. And like I said to you earlier, the number 10 and the strikers going up through. You've got to be looking in your squad. What's my best squad players that I've got? What's their best positions? And then you try and make a tactic around it.
Okay, well, the final person we're going to be taking a look at is Clates. Now, straight from the off, Clates doesn't use a downloaded tactic, but he's quite good at tactics himself, but I can't wait to see the reaction on the tactic you create. So let's have a look at Clates' rebuild of Sevilla, the team that I failed in 1 season. I'm still annoyed by that. I won the bloody cup and they sacked me. But let's see how Clates does, because if he does worse and they don't sack him...
Weren't you nearly relegated when we took him over as well? So we kept them up
awful.
and won the cup.
Yeah. Now, the difference that Clates is doing... Actually, I'm going to show you the difference that Clates is doing. Okay, because I think this is quite clever as well, and it's something that I actually thought about doing myself for a team that might be struggling. So it could be something that we do as well.
In today's video, I take charge at Sevilla in Spain. Over the last 10 years, Sevilla have established themselves as the best of the rest in La Liga, outside of the big 3 of Atletico, Real Madrid and Barcelona. However, this year, they find themselves well off the pace in the league, only 4 points away from the relegation zone. As any decent FM YouTuber would surely say, they need a rebuild.
I did, Clates, and they sacked me.
So Sevilla, for today's rebuild, a team that in their history has won 6 Europa League titles since 2006, and yet has only won 1 La Liga title way back in 1946. That will be the aim of today's rebuild. Can we go and win that league title?
So he's setting out his target already.
Going to win the league
The
title.
league title.
That's a big shout.
That is a big shout.
You're not only hoping that 1 or 2 teams, you're not hoping that you have a fantastic season, but you're hoping that 2 teams at least have a bad season.
Yeah, because you know that they are obviously very dominant in that league. Off topic, love his shirt.
Yeah.
Forward Madison is a team in America, and they do the best kits, and Clates has got it, and I'm very jealous.
Has been a long time coming for them. However, in real life, they had a shocking start to the season this year. After 14 games, they had only managed to win a couple of them and found themselves 18th in the table. It was a shocking start.
So, the twist that Clates puts on this rebuild especially is he's using a database which gives you real-life fixtures up until the point that he's obviously downloaded it.
Right.
So this is, I think, just after Christmas, I believe he says. So at this point...
They played 14 games then.
Yeah, they are in the relegation zone.
So he's actually physically taking it over
at
as
this
they
point.
stand.
Yeah. So he
real
will
life.
have a January transfer window
Right.
in this first season to
Yeah.
try and salvage the season.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I quite like it. I've
Yeah.
seen quite a few people post. I actually had a DM from somebody say, "Have you seen this?" Which was the database which allows you to
Yeah.
pick the date that you go to.
Because
Why don't you do
another
a
thing
rebuild
you can
with the
think about
relegation
doing
team?
as well, really, is if a team gets a manager sacked,
Taking
you
over
can
from
take
that
over
point.
exactly the same point that he got sacked.
Yeah, it's a
idea,
good
that.
idea.
They have since recovered slightly to this situation where they find themselves 4 points off that relegation zone, but up to 12th in the league.
What I think is quite an interesting challenge that we're going to set Clates. Obviously, he's already done it. So, but will he finish above 12?
Yeah.
Where they are right now.
Yeah.
But it meant that they were primed for a rebuild. Another factor going into why they do need a little bit of a rebuild is the fact that so many of their squad are north of 30 now. They are aging. They're going to need a new
thing that we always
wave
talk
of
about,
players.
innit?
Yeah,
Big thing
age,
we always talk about.
especially in Football Manager, because
Yeah.
attributes just start to plummet. So
I mean,
you get over 30.
We always try and build our teams for the people to take over from us as well.
Yeah.
So we're very particular about the players that we do buy and try and bring in young players as well for that one reason, to allow for people to take over. But that's a big thing, when you've got players over 30.
Yeah.
It's hard. There's a lot of players to replace in it.
Yeah, I think Clates actually does the same thing as us and puts up for his Patreon members.
Oh, right, that's good
He
idea.
calls them Clatrium members. Clever, isn't it? Very well done. A little applause for that. I think I've seen him say that anyway. If he doesn't, then you need
He
to.
will do now,
Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, very well done. So yeah, absolutely. The age is a big factor in Football Manager because it is one of those games, and I've seen a meme about it. It's like if Football Manager's told me anything, it's like 30 is too old to be a footballer. Then Zlatan doesn't. 41, still really good.
Yeah.
They're going to need signings. They're going to need revolution. And that is what we're going to do in today's rebuild. Just the thing to show you straight away off the bat is that we're going to try something in this rebuild. We're going to try the overload. Is it back for FM23? We're going to test it in today's rebuild. It is the 3-striker formation. I've not used it at all
brave.
in FM23.
Yeah,
all of
brave
our other
trying
rebuilds
that.
have been very
In
realistic.
relegation
But do you know what? We're going to do it today. For a bit of fun, we're going to go with 3 strikers all the way up there, look, with a shadow striker in behind these 2 midfielders. We're going to have some fun and hopefully take Sevilla from 18th in the league to the very top in today's rebuild. Does that...
So he actually used a tactic very similar to this in last year's Football Manager, and it worked really well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of quite interesting to see if it works in this one.
It's a good tactic if you've got the players that can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you've looked at me a couple of times. I think the Frankfurt one where I used 3 up top with a shadow striker, and you were like, "Whoa." So it's very similar to that one.
It's all right when you scored a lot of goals, but you could concede a lot of goals as well, couldn't you? And it only takes that one day. You don't score a couple of goals and you concede one.
Yeah, it's a
You're
very
in trouble, aren't you?
It's a very fun tactic to watch
Yeah.
in the match engine because it's constant goals. All right, so this is the transfers that he has made on the 1st of February.
Just slipped then.
Leave that in. So he's brought in a good left back, and he's also brought in 3 strikers.
Yeah.
For that tactic that he is using. Fernino, very good striker from Villarreal, because he's actually put a twist on this. I haven't mentioned it. Obviously, the striker thing is a lot of the tactics thing, but he's only signing Spanish players.
Yeah.
Brave as well.
Yeah.
So all of these players are Spanish. Wars Adama Traore and Tony Martinez from
Traore,
Porto.
but I mean,
Pace.
do you know what I always said about this bloke? He likes himself more than he likes anything else. You see
Yeah.
him, he comes on.
I would have a body like that.
Yeah, but he's all oiled up and all that. And you look at me, and all this. He's got pace, yeah, but does he know what to do with the ball when he gets it in that dangerous position? No. Barcelona took him and tried to do it for a season, didn't they? And say, right, this is what you're going to do. They played him about 5 or 6 games, and then at the end of the season, sent him back to Wolves. didn't they?
Yeah,
He wasn't cooking it.
Didn't
was he?
quite work.
No.
Okay, end of season number 1, and we have gone from 18th to 5th. We've managed to have a really successful season. The tactic
won
continues
18
to
games in
thrive.
the end.
It's
Yeah.
definitely working. We finished on 62 points and qualified quite aptly, I feel, for the Europa League for next
Their
year.
favourite
Maybe it would be
competition.
perfect to go and win the Europa League next season. I feel like that'd be really nice to do. Let's make that an
definitely.
aim now. But in terms of how we've done, it's been pretty good. Let's have a look at the fixtures and the results here, I should say. From the
obviously
point
that's
that we
all what
took
they've
over,
done in
which
real life, and
was...
this is where he's took it
okay,
over.
big
Look at
summer
January.
revamp.
Yeah.
Program.
Yeah.
God almighty, he murdered it in that January, didn't he?
Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference there.
Check. This has been a busy summer of transfers. I've spent £233 million on this Sevilla team that is going into the Europa League. But we've also raised £106 million. So actually, it's very, very doable, this type of transfer window, because of the future incentives and the installments that you can use. Actually spending this much wasn't too much of a big deal. We brought in decent money, one of those being that Rafa Mir thing that I did fear. He was our #1 striker last year, but Liverpool have actually gone and used his release clause, £40 million.
So to look at his players that he's brought in, I mean, the Liverpool signing his best striker is not great, but the replacements I think is quite good.
I'm just looking at one there that I signed for Spurs there, and Spurs went on and signed after
Pedro
I done.
Porro.
Yeah.
I think he's the best right back on the game.
I'm going to say it's a good signing, and
Yeah,
definitely.
That's obviously a great start. I can see two very good centre backs in there, and Eric Garcia and George Cuenca.
Yep.
Two young good centre backs as well. But my favourite signing is Dani Olmo, because he's one of my favourite wonder kids of all time on Football Manager, from Leipzig. That's one of his most expensive transfers as well.
Yeah.
46 up to £49 million to obviously play in behind the strikers, which he had Papu Gomez, I think, before that. Now he's like 34, 35, so that's obviously another a good pickup there. But quite interesting. Now the strikers that he's brought in, Hugo Duro from Valencia, and I think it's Jutgla, who's the Club Brugge guy. Let's take a note of how much he spent for them, because I don't think you'd be able to sell them for that cheap.
I mean, when you look at
after
it,
they perform.
He spent a lot of money on good players.
Yeah.
But he spent average money on good squad players, I would say.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's the name of this game, really, I think. If you're going to be successful, you've got to buy those squad players. They've got to be half decent, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on them.
No, that's
and
it.
it's finding them.
Yeah, that's the
and
big
I think
trouble.
that's what he's done here.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good. I know it's a lot of money he spent, but he's got a lot of money out, so he's only spent really 120 million.
Yeah, and as he says, he's using installments and stuff like that to bring the cost down.
I think that's a good transfer window.
Yeah, I agree.
At the end of season number 2, we have had a storming season, but we still couldn't beat Real Madrid and Barcelona. The big two in Spain are going to be so difficult to crack.
Yeah,
I
80
think, though,
points,
one more season is maybe
Brilliant.
what we need. We've got the makings of an amazing team here. Have a look at the goal-scoring exploits of our front three here. Jutgla, Duro, and Tony Martinez are all superstars. 30 goals or more on all of them.
£12 million
40
at
goals
Jutgla,
from Ferran
40
Jutgla.
goals.
Yeah.
40 goals, 6 assists. That is outrageous. He's been playing as he's played as all three of the roles, actually, but as the central striker here. Look at his
striker scoring
profile.
that many
Why is
goals,
this guy
you're gonna
such a
have some
goal
sort of
scoring machine? I
success.
guess he
Yeah,
does have really
I
good
agree.
finishing off the ball work rate. Maybe that's it. He doesn't have lightning pace. Good pace, 15-14, but there's no reason why this guy's as good as he is. He's really good. Sign him in your saves. He's a high recommendation of mine now, because he just does the business, really. Have been brilliant this year, but they haven't won the league. That is because we finished...
So where does he go from there, really, is I would be looking at my
We
defence
just
now.
couldn't quite keep up.
Sorry.
I think you've got the best attacking team that you could buy. To whatever he gets in his transfer money this season, I would put it on defence now and just try and just bottle it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't need any more strikers. You don't need any more midfield players. You've got a team there. It's finished third in the league. They only lost 8 games. They're close. So what do? You just park the bus that thing. Make that defence a little bit stronger.
I think having the all Spanish thing as transfers, though, is gonna stop that from happening, because he's already signed Eric Garcia, who's like their best, is Spanish best up and coming centre back.
Yeah.
Is there any other options?
And they had the boy in the right back as well, didn't they?
Yeah, Pedro Porro.
Yeah, Porro. Who is it they're going to get in to replace?
And he's got Alex Grimaldo on the left.
Yeah. So it is quite hard, really, to find out who he is going to replace.
Yeah.
But you're waiting for those two teams to have a bad season together for you to jump in.
Yeah, and you need
Doesn't
to be
happen very
beating
often.
them, and that's difficult.
Yeah, doesn't happen very often, does it?
Especially when you're simulating, because this tactic's probably absolutely slapping the lower teams. Because we all kind of know the top, the Spanish league. You've got the top 4, and then it's a very big difference in quality compared to a lot of the teams in the bottom half.
Yeah.
I feel, and I think like that tactic will absolutely destroy.
We look at this season that's
the
actually
lower
happening
leagues.
at this present moment. I can remember the beginning of this season, after about 10 games, that Barcelona were like mid-table.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on a minute, they could be close to sacking their manager here.
Yeah.
And then obviously finishing without a Champions League, games next season, and then all of a sudden, 10 results later, the top of the league.
Yeah. That's it. And they're walking it as well
Yeah.
at the minute.
Season 3 signings through the door, and there are some big names in here. Let me show you then. We've spent £82 million. We've sold players for £27.5 million. But the most important thing here, it's a beautiful day because Bono is no longer our number one. Kepa has arrived from...
Good signing.
Oh, yes.
Same sign as what you made.
Yeah. I mean, look, people slagged me for signing him for a goalkeeper, didn't they?
Yeah. He's quite good in the game.
What did I do? I won the Premiership and got to the Champions League final.
Yeah,
He's a good keeper.
he is. And he's done hell of a well in this transfer window,
Yeah.
by the way. This is where I think the rebuild really kicked into gear. Pau Torres from Villarreal, fantastic centre-back.
Yeah.
Left-sided as well, so suits for that. Where I mentioned Eric Garcia is probably the best up-and-coming.
that's
Pau
two-
Torres is probably the best.
That's two positions that I talked about.
Yeah, Carlos Soler is a midfielder who can play in so many different positions and fill so many different roles. Great squad player.
Yeah.
He mentions earlier on in this rebuild, I don't think I show it, but Jordi Alba, how good Jordi Alba and Jose Gaia is, because he had Grimaldo. He's got Jordi Alba from Barcelona on a free transfer. He's not free from Barcelona. He's obviously left.
Yeah.
But the loan signing of Ansu Fati, which is mental.
I'm very surprised that Barcelona let them do it as well.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
a team that's come third in the league, you know, you're going to be thinking to yourself, do we want to send one of our players down there?
Yeah,
Don't think so.
I agree.
They wouldn't do it in the Premier League.
No, definitely not.
Joined on loan from Barcelona. He was playing, I mean, pretty regularly last year for Barcelona. Only 11 starts, I suppose. They're going to allow him to come to us. We're going to pay £1.3 million for him. There is a future fee of £171 million as well if we want to do that.
So
Probably
they rate him
not.
as a good player.
But he's
Yeah.
in for this season. I
171
think
if you
he's
want him
going to
on a-
offer us
on a
something a little
permanent.
bit. Soler Porto, who is now playing for us, look. He is joined for... In fact, that one's the one that I missed. I need to go back and show you some extra transfers here as well. If I go back, there were some that came in before it had ticked over to the new season. Porto being one of them. Really like him. Especially, he's a good player to pick up in draft mode usually as well. Really cheap. He is a decent option too.
Clates is really good in the draft. It's really annoying.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's picking up good squad players.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we will say, isn't it?
Yeah. He's really good in the PvP competitions.
Yeah.
I am not. I've won one.
Come in as well, just to show you. I don't think there was anybody else that was before the tick over. Oh yeah, Malero as well was before the tick over that you might have missed as well. Sometimes it does that in FM, doesn't it? But the squad now looks like this. Juggler, Juro, Tony Martinez still off. Strike Force, that front three is sensational.
I'd probably still be
We've got
playing
a
Danny
good
Olmo instead
La
of
Liga
Porto.
squad. We've got a really strong La Liga squad. Players
I
like Saul,
think it's
Nianzou and
because
Olmo
they're
come
out.
into this as
Yeah.
well when they're not suspended or injured. This team, I think, can go and challenge for the title. In fact, we're fourth favourites, but I think we can go for it this year.
I think that's
Europa
a good
League
team.
winners.
In Football Manager, that's a very good team.
I think it's a good transfer window again. There's two good transfer windows he's had, and he's strengthened it in the places that I think he needed to strengthen it as well.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I would put money on him. As an outside bet, that's where my money would go.
All right. Let's see how he does then.
Okay, then there it is. It is, as I almost expected, a La Liga title for Sevilla. 100 points, a first La Liga title
100
since
points.
1946. What a season. What
Only
a team.
losing 2 games.
What a battle, actually. Real Madrid,
Brilliant.
93 points. Really went...
Still didn't
hammer
have the
and-
highest goal difference, though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Barcelona really fell off, actually, from last year. 74 points.
So
Where they
that's-
finished on...
You needed one of the two teams to
To have a bad one.
to have a bad one. So it gave you a chance then. And
Yeah.
then your season had to be outstanding.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what he'd done.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go and drop down to 74 is quite the change. Maybe because we took Fatty. Probably not that, but that did happen.
Fatty was the big situation,
There's a big
though,
difference,
isn't it?
isn't it?
I'm going to tell you a joke now because I find it really funny. So when Man United played the first leg, me and my mates have like a bit of banter where we call each other fat and bold because we're both fat and bold. And I text him saying, "Get on, mate, I didn't realise you play for Barcelona." He went, "What, Ansu Fati?" He went, "No, Alejandro Balde." There's a little private joke there, but Ansu Fati reminded me, so I thought I'd tell you.
We are the champions on 100 points, and have a look at these player stats. Have a look at this side. Have a look at this tactic. Once again, the three strikers were thriving. We had goals from Juckler, 23, 27 from Martinez, 19 from Juro. Maybe not quite as prolific as the season before.
I was going to say that it's mental how like they didn't score as many goals as the season before, but they won the league.
Yeah.
But I think that's a testament to probably the signing of the goalkeeper and Torres being a better defence. Obviously with this very attacking tactic meant that he didn't have to score that
Yeah.
many goals.
That's what I said, didn't it?
Yeah.
Done that, yeah.
A glorious season. I mean, what
Look
a
at those
start to the
greens on
season.
there.
If
Yeah.
you go from August
Brilliant.
up until Real Madrid in November, we won every single game. We did lose the Super Cup.
And I'd
to
still be
Bayern
happy with
Munich.
that. One each against Real Madrid.
Yeah, so I didn't actually show it in this, but he won the Europa League in that second season.
All right.
When he qualified for it from the first season,
Yeah.
he won the Europa League in the second season.
It's good.
So already had a trophy underneath his belt. Obviously now he was qualified for the Champions League, so we're going to see how he does in this one.
But take that out of the equation. We won every game until the 9th of November. And even then, it was a draw against Real Madrid. Unbeaten until the 4th of December, where we lost to Almeria at home, which was a bit of a shock. But it didn't,
home
didn't
too.
put us off too much.
So his Champions League was ended by Red Bull Salzburg because of a 5-1 away leg. He beat them 3-0 at home. So round of 16 that
And you
is.
don't know whether really sometimes you
first
because you
round
win
knockout, yeah.
because you win so well at home, and it might have been a comfortable win as well.
Yeah.
You think, oh, we don't really need to play all our top players in goal, and it's the same as what the players are thinking as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got this in the bag already, you know. And these teams, when they play at home, especially
They fancy themselves, don't
yeah,
they?
They're a good side. We've seen that the other night, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're a
I
good
think it's
side at
quite
home.
funny how he beat them 3-0 in the league phase and then had to play them in the next round. And that was his last Champions League game. So he basically played Salzburg 3 games in a row in
Yeah.
Europe. And unfortunately, that 5-1 loss has cost him, to be honest. He also lost the Spanish Cup final 3-0 to Atletico Madrid. So although he's gone on and won the league, which is a fantastic thing to do in 3 seasons, because we're in 2025, so it only took him 3 seasons, that final loss and the Champions League loss is obviously not like unfortunate, but
Yeah.
maybe where the tactic of going too gung-ho all the time might have bit him in the bum there.
I'm just saying they were 3-0. They weren't actually, were they? They played the first leg, but they lost 5-1.
They lost
first.
5-1
yeah,
first,
so
and then, yeah.
won the home game 3-0. So they were unlucky, really.
Yeah.
The away game just cost them, really, didn't it?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I feel like that's a good measure of the progress that we've made. We've gone from losing 7-2 to them to beating them 2-0 comfortably. It's a big change.
So that is Clate's rebuild of Sevilla using only Spanish transfers and done it in 3 seasons. He did what he said he was going to do. He won the league.
Yeah.
Very successful, in my opinion, with a Europa League as well.
I think he's done brilliant.
Yeah.
Very clever boys, a good tactic, and he kept to that tactic, but he strengthened where he had to strengthen to get the result that he needed.
Yeah.
And he got it.
Yeah.
Well done.
I agree. Congratulations, Clates. Well done. Fantastic rebuild. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction style. This is obviously the first one that we've done, so we don't know whether this is going to be good or not. But if you want to see us do more, we're going to do more reactional-based stuff on our Alpha and Omega channel. And if you want to have us take a look at some more rebuilds, maybe that's something that we can do in the future once we get some more rebuilds of our own done. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to the guys who did
fun.
their rebuilds. It was good fun, wasn't it? And yeah, go check them out. I'll leave all the links for their channels in the description. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Monday where I try and rebuild somebody. We'll see who it is when we get there. Bye-bye.